We have asked Doctor Jok Madut Jok, a Professor of Anthropology at the Syracuse University, to join us via Skype for more on the story. Dr. Jok, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on The Globe.
Thank you, ma'am. It's good to be here.
Now, Doc, in April, a dramatic gesture, the Pope knelt down, kissed the feet of both President Salva Kiir and opposition leader Riek Machar, and now, come November, he's urging the leaders once again to overcome their divisions and ensure that there is no return to civil war. What's your take on this 100 days of a lull before they finally form a unity government? What exactly is going on there?
What is going on with that extension is a combination of the government in Juba trying to bend backward to accommodate the opposition, particularly the SPLM-IO led by Dr. Riek Machar, the former vice president, who is going to be the designated first vice president according to the agreement. So it's a combination of that with a sense of lack of urgency among all the top political leaders in ensuring that the violence stops for the welfare of the people of South Sudan. So that means any one-day extension of the formation of the government is an extension of the time that the people of South Sudan wish to be in peace and stability so that they can get on with their lives. So nothing is good about the extension whatsoever. The question is, who is to blame more? Is it the warring parties or the mediators and the grantors in the region?
Now, Dr. Jok, they're describing the atmosphere between the two leaders and, their people, that it's quite cordial and friendly. And, as you say, is this more of a power struggle and in terms of who should have more power over the other? Do you think we will finally get to a point where there is a formation of a unity government in Sudan, South Sudan?
Oh, the government will eventually be formed, no question about it, because all parties to the conflict have one and only one thing on their mind, which is to be able to merge into their posh offices of government while not being concerned about the lives of the everyday people that they have rendered so miserable that a third of the country's population is in exile or internally displaced. So the formation of the government is not the only issue. The formation of the government is one of the problems, and the next thing is then what does that kind of government do to ensure that the refugees and the IDPs are repatriated to their homes, that there is security so that business can be held, that local people, cattle keepers and farmers can get back to their businesses without any worries about their own safety. That is what the government is expected to do. Whether the government to be formed within 100 days or later, or which would have been formed by the 12th of November, was going to provide all of that is the issue at hand and the question that all the South Sudanese have in mind. So nobody really trusts that the political leaders, with all the fanfare, with all the hugs and handshakes and smiles and camera opportunities, that they are actually thinking about their people and not thinking only about themselves. That is the big question.
Now, also the issue of, the economic crisis and the meltdown in the country. And as you say, a lot of people have tried to escape the country as we speak. And then there's also the big issue of the floods that have hit South Sudan. And we've seen the devastation that has come forth. Why are the leaders not thinking about the people on the ground with regards to ensuring that they focus on, assisting the people on the ground instead of the battle back and forth of, the formation of this unity government?
Yeah, I don't think that the formation of the government of national unity would have rescued the people suffering from the flood. There is the reality that South Sudan is a country that has not developed any kind of infrastructure and does not have a whole lot of capacity to address some of these naturally based tragedies such as the flooding. But of course, there is a human element to them, and that human element is not signified by anything other than the fact that even the government, the president of the country, the parliament of the country, all the institutions of government with the responsibility to respond to these things have not gone and visited and expressed solidarity with the people affected by the flooding in Boma State, in Jonglei State, in Upper Nile, in Akobo, in northern Bahr Ghazal, and the entire part of the country that is now completely waterlogged, and people are unable and incapable of moving out of this situation without much assistance. All of them, of course, are looking to Juba for any kind of assistance, but above all, for any kind of expression of solidarity with them, which we have not seen in local media or international media, and that leaves a lot to be desired from the leaders of that country.
Now, what do you think is going to happen within the 100 days? Do you think that they're going to be able to, ensure that all parties are happy with, the possibility of that unity government, the formation of the unity government? Are they going to give Riek Machar exactly what he's looking for?
Oh, sure. Riek Machar will certainly get his first vice presidency. He will get a number of ministerial posts to go to his people. He will get a number of high positions in the military, and that will be that. Whether that is going to change the situation on the ground so that the people of South Sudan can live a better lives than they have been subjected to over the past 6 years is a different story. The fact is that Riek Machar and President Kiir and all the other top political leaders are going to walk into their posh offices, while the rest of us will rot in misery going forward, not knowing exactly where our salvation will come from.
What's the best case scenario for South Sudan with regards to ensuring that the economic crisis is averted and, the country returns to normality going forward?
The best scenario is to get a new leadership, which at the moment it's not known how exactly that new leadership is going to come. And so it would be the fate of the people of South Sudan is now in the hands of these leaders, forming the government of national unity and running the country for the interim period of 3 years, and then making possible for elections to take place. And at that time, the people of South Sudan will, for once, will be able to choose their leaders. And if they choose good leaders and they are lucky, then it is those leaders who will now then rebuild the economy, first of all by fighting corruption. The flagrant theft of public resources that has been going on for the past 15 years, it has to be fought from within by the local institutions and by local activists, and cannot be addressed by imposition of sanctions from abroad, because otherwise, where is it going to end? Every time South Sudan is in trouble, we have to run to the United States to impose sanctions? No, the people of South Sudan themselves have to be given an opportunity to finally be able to use their own institutions to fight graft and malfeasance in public office and be able to move forward as independent and sovereign people.
Now, Pope Francis has come out and stated that South Sudan is very close to his heart, and the dramatic gesture in April, and now again 3 days after the leaders have decided to, postpone the formation of the unity government for 100 days until February 2020, has urge them again to ensure that the country does not return to civil war. And there's also the possibility of his visit in 2020. What's your take on this? Do you think that the leaders will heed the call of the Pope and, his urging, and the fact that he may come to the country in 2020, no confirmed dates as yet, will make a difference?
Well, I think if that humiliating gesture, I call it humiliating from my point of view, because the elderly man of faith had to go down out of breath on his knees to kiss the feet of these leaders. And all of us hope that they would have been humbled to the point where they could go back to their country and make peace, but they haven't done that. So that means whatever the Pope will do in the future can only be looked at positively or negatively from the point of view of what has happened already. My feeling is that nothing the Pope will say or do is going to force these leaders to humble themselves to the needs of the South Sudanese if that does not grant them and guarantee them continued control of the affairs of that country. So, of course, the people of South Sudan will be living in hope and aspiration that the Pope is coming in 2020. There's no question that majority of people would absolutely be looking forward to that movement. Even if that movement does not lead to political changes, it will be an expression of solidarity with the suffering people of South Sudan. So there's no question that it would be a good movement. But whether it will change the hearts of our leaders, that's a different story, and that nothing seems to be capable of changing their hearts other than their own interest and their own idea about what keeps them in office or get them out of office.
Dr. Jok, always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. That is Professor Dr. Jok Madut Jok, a Professor of Anthropology at the Syracuse University, joining us via Skype.